Welcome back to Twist of Fate, a small business podcast that will help you find your inspiration to reinvent your business with planning, passion, and optimism. Today's episode is dedicated to our special sports athletes and all the coaches, trainers, and family members that support them on their journey to bring the best physical performance that they can bring to athletic contests. And our guest today, most interestingly, can help them find their inspiration through faith and motivational speaking. Today's special guest's name is Chris Avila. He is the author of 2-Minute Warning and a chaplain of a lot of professional sports efforts that are really helping our athletes. So Chris, welcome to Twist of Fate, my friend.
Man, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited to hang out. I love the show and excited to chop it up.
So Chris, let's start with first this 2-minute warning. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on the writing of your book that if you wouldn't mind telling my listeners more about how this is going to really motivate a lot of our young sports athletes.
Yeah, it's called 2-Minute Warning, Time to Fight for What Matters Most. And it's this urgent action call to take your faith serious and grow your faith. And I believe that God's created us physically and spiritually. And a lot of times we work on the outside and we never work on the inside. And in order to get 100% out of ourselves, out of our performance, out of our mindsets, out of our life, of being happy, being joyful, being motivated, understanding purpose, you've got to build your inside. You've got to build your spirit up. And so it's funny because I interviewed, for a position with a big-time head coach, and he said, "How are you going to help me win football games?" And that's exactly what I shared with them. I said, I believe there's two sides of our lives, and I'm going to help you build the other side, and we're going to get 100% out of these guys.
The book's intended audience is for, as you described, there's coaches and the staff around athletes, but they're the athletes themselves. Now, if you don't mind sharing, what was your inspiration for writing this book? Was there a particular athlete or a particular experience you had historically that made you say, I just wanted to write a book?
Yeah, ultimately, I felt God, tell me to do it. But it's been just something on my heart that over 20 years of working in the pro athlete community with pro boxers to the NFL, the XFL, Major League Baseball, and I wanted something that would be more than just me showing up to a team one time that I can put in their hands that's going to be like me going home with them and being able to inspire them daily as they spend some time reading the book and spending some time praying and building up their spirit. So I knew that I needed to, there's over 50 million 15 and 30-year-olds right now in our country. And so I knew I needed to multiply myself, and I felt a book would be the greatest way to do that.
Yeah, that's great. Now, you provide help to athletes both professional and young as they start their career. How do they differ? I was curious as to what it takes to be maximum performance as a professional versus youth tournaments, youth leagues, and youth athletes.
Yeah, I've found out in over 20 years of doing this thing is that actually the older it's harder. When people are set in their ways, people are used to a routine, used to a way of thinking, a way of doing something. It's a lot harder to break through. It takes a lot more intentionality. It takes a lot more coming back and building relationship to be able to do that. But young people are so hungry and so open, and they're like sponges. They really are, and they are really desiring to be challenged, to be loved, to really be told the truth. With so much accessibility, Google and YouTube, these kids are hungry. That's why there's so much content out there, because they want to learn, they want to know the truth, they want to be successful. And so young people are really easy, really fun. They haven't gone through some of that life and got hit a few times by life as much as some of the older guys.
Yeah, I think that's insightful for you to share. And as a father sports is a way that it can get, I feel, a lot of kids that could end up in trouble in life, channel those negative energies in a positive way. But also sports can take them away from certain focuses that, they need to be narrow focused. So that's definitely, I feel your book and some of the talks that you do inspire me as a parent to try to make sure that sports for youth is put in the proper context. Now, if we could, I'd like to also talk about your work with a lot of the pro players. Now, my understanding is also that you've been a chaplain for some major franchises out there in a variety of sports. Would you mind telling my audience a little bit about you functioning as a chaplain and providing inspiration to some of these pro clubs and pro players that you've worked with?
Yeah, it's really a very unique space that I'm able to walk in and do. I tell a lot of people I can't build houses, I can't fix cars. There's a lot of things I can't do, but what I feel God's created me to do is help people connect to God and this incredible big God to connect to us. And so with pro athletes, you've got guys on all kinds of different journeys that they're on with their spiritual walk, so you've got guys that have grown up in church, you've got guys that don't want anything to do with God. And, and my passion is to come alongside them, to be a voice in their corner, that they can trust, that I've earned the voice to be able to speak into their lives. So a lot of it is just presence driven. So I am, at practices, I'm at family stuff. I'm around the weight room. I'm trying to work out with the team. I just want to be around and build equity and just see that, hey, I'm a normal guy. I'm not after anything. I don't have any, inside thing that I really want to autograph. I want pictures. I want tickets. So I'm very upfront with them that I don't need anything. I don't want anything. But my passion is to help them to succeed and connect with God. So it's really fun. So a lot of it's FaceTime, a lot of it, like my boxers, I show up to training camp and hang out for a few days and we go eat and we talk life. And I think that's what else makes me very unique is in that sports world, everybody is asking about sports, so if it's a running back, they're saying, man, you guys are playing the Chiefs or, oh man, and everything's sports. And so when I come, I'm like, hey man, how's your marriage? I'm like, hey, how are your kids? How's life? What are you dreaming about beyond the locker? What's on your heart? What's the dream? And so that immediately catches hearts and they see like, man, I don't get to talk about this very often. So I just come in at a different angle. I'm there around them. I build trust and then, guys will reach out and say, hey man, I really want to grow more. Can you mentor me? Can we meet more? And it builds up and it develops like that. Sometimes I just pray with them before a fight. Other times it's weekly connections. Other times it's just teams that are coming in. I live in Fort Worth, Dallas area. So I have a couple NFL teams that are coming in to play the Cowboys and reached out to me and said, hey, would you come and speak to the team for chapel the night before the game? And so I love doing that kind of stuff, but it's such a unique and fun space.
The biggest surprise that I had in meeting you is seeing in combat sports in particular, how your motivational message and many of them seeking a way to get closer to their spiritual beliefs. I think it's underappreciated. I think a lot of people think because you're in combat sports that you're looking to inflict injury on another person.
Right.
But that's a business. That's a sport. That's a way of life for them. But that doesn't mean they can't be a spiritual person. Now, do you find, it's just curious, is that something of a discussion you have, that them hurting other people? Because I'm a huge fan, as you know, of combat sports, but the people I've met, they don't want to hurt people.
Right.
Is that a discussion that you get into?
Yeah, I mean it's a unique fraternity. Whether you're in the NFL, you're in boxing, UFC, And it's, it's one of those, it can be a violent sport, and it really is, their livelihoods on there. And so when I come in there, I remember a big time promoter out of LA. I didn't know he even knew who I was, but one of my boxers was under his promotion, and he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey," my boxer was Robert the Ghost Guerrero, and he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, so you telling me you pray for Robert and God helps him win?" And I remember in that moment I said, "Man, obviously
that's an ethical dilemma, right? That's an ethical dilemma."
Yeah. So I said, "Man, that's a great question. Does God want him to win more than somebody else?" I said, "I don't know. Here's what I pray for him. I pray for his safety. I pray for favor. This is his livelihood, that it'll continue to bless his family. I pray that it would open doors for him so that he could use his platform to bring hope into this world, in this broken world that can be negative and bad things happening with, racists and violence and all these different things, that, man, our guys would be a light in the middle of something crazy where somebody's watching a sport and they see, man, something's different about this guy or this girl." And so that's what I pray for. I pray for their health, their protection, that they would do their best. I mean, the bottom line, I remember Robert fought Floyd Mayweather, and I honestly thought, I was young in my career, and I'm like, man, this is David and Goliath. We're gonna beat Floyd, and man, Robert wins round 1, round 2, round 3, and then Floyd went Floyd, as they say. And it was just,
he takes it to another whole place. Yeah.
Right. It was just unbelievable, sitting there ringside watching Floyd Mayweather, as fast as he is, my boxer missing him by an inch a million times. And he's just a step ahead and quick and just in and out and just scoring points and just phenomenal. And I'm just sitting there in awe of probably one of the greatest of all time. Right. And so at the end we lose, and I remember going, man, I thought for sure we would win and all this stuff. And so they interview Robert, they interview Floyd. And I remember Robert just was like, man, I did my best. I'm going to keep going. I'm grateful for this opportunity. I just want to thank God. And he just had this humble heart, this grateful heart. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, most of us are not Floyd Mayweather. Most of us are in the losing end of things, or we can't be undefeated. We're going to have some losses. And what a way to show people, like, hey, I did my best. I left it all out there. And, he was the better guy. And that's the beauty of sports is really, check this stat out. Less than 2% of football players in high school end up in the NFL. Right. So that's crazy. They've got, all of them have dreams to play in the NFL, but the reality is most of them are not going to make it. And so we've got to learn how to overcome and think bigger and realize sometimes what I do is not who I am. I play football, but that's not who I am. I'm bigger than football. I'm bigger than boxing. I'm a father. I'm a dad. I'm a coach. Whatever it is. Something greater that they can live to.
I really appreciate you sharing, because you're right about one thing. The 50 souls that fought against Pretty Boy Floyd or Floyd Money Mayweather, they have to deal with loss.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of my entrepreneurial listeners, entrepreneurs often say what it's like to be an entrepreneur. It's like getting gut punched, and I think that dealing with loss, you can't internalize it. And in some ways, you're hitting that it's not your identity. And to your point, it's no shame losing to Floyd Mayweather, right? Like, no shame at all. Like, he's 100% an amazing human being. But I do think it's a really important thing that you do of helping those lose gracefully, respectfully, and, keeping their egos intact. I really, want to applaud that. So could we do this? I want to ask you, so what was your inspiration that led you down this path? I mean, the path of being a chaplain or a spiritual leader for athletes, my understanding is you were an athlete yourself.
Yeah.
Could we talk a little bit about the start of the journey for you?
Yeah. So the journey for me started with at home, where my father divorced my mom when I was really young. And so we grew up in, a struggling family, me and my sister and my mom. And so my mom put me in every sports. I'm aging myself, but now it's like sports go year round, so you can play football year round, you can play baseball year round. But when I was growing up, it was like, man, fall was football, then winter got basketball, then spring was baseball, then you could play soccer in the summer. And so
She did that to keep you busy?
yeah, she kept me so that I could be around some male, leaders in my life and to stay out of trouble. We grew up kind of in a poor area and troubled area, gangs and violence and different things like that. So she wanted me to stay out of trouble and get some positive male role models in my life. And so I grew up loving sports. And when I got into right into middle school, my mom passed away.
What was your favorite sport? Before you move on, what was your favorite sport?
My favorite sport is football. But probably my best sport was baseball. I should have probably stuck it out
Gotcha.
baseball. But I loved football. Just loved football. So a big moment in my life. My mom passed from cancer when I was in 6th grade, and my life.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, my life just crumbled, man. She was my world. I was a mama's boy, and I had hate towards my dad and anger. Didn't understand parental stuff, and I just knew he wasn't there, and I just never gave him a shot. I just immediately just did not want anything to do with him. So I was acting out in high school and chasing the wrong things. And so when I encountered God, and the first thing that he did was really he healed my heart, and he allowed me to forgive my dad, which at that moment was the guy I hated the most on the planet. And the reality was I was turning just like him. And so it broke me down. And the first thing that I felt God speak to my heart was to go and forgive him and reconcile, just like God had done in my life. So I went and started that walk and that journey with my dad. But through that, I met a pro athlete at a mall, and I was just really fired up. God had forgiven, me of my sins and healed my heart. And I was just fired up, man, that God was real and he was after my life. And so I ran into him at a mall, and we, my sports career was done in high school. I didn't take it serious. I was distracted and chasing money, chasing the wrong things. And so I always loved sports. I loved watching. I grew up in the Bay Area, so I loved the 49ers, the Giants, the Sharks. I just loved all the Bay Area teams. And so I met this guy who played on the Raiders, #1 draft picks, and it was Napoleon Kaufman, 5'9".
At that time, that's the Oakland Raiders, right?
Yes, sir, the Oakland Raiders. And he was on fire for God, and we connected and we started hanging out. And the next thing you know, he asked my mentor to be if he would be the chaplain for the Raiders, and so he allowed me to serve with him, and
Wow.
So that kind of started my journey. And then through that, man, you would meet different people, and I mean, it's just a small world in that pro athlete community, and doors just start opening, man. If you have a gift and you work hard and you do your best to hone in on your craft, and you are truly in the right heart of wanting to serve and help people, which I think crosses over into entrepreneurship. I feel like the people that are just like sales, they tend to not get to that place where they truly want to go. But when they get to a place with that vision and there's something bigger that they want to do through their business, their idea, and they're helping people, man, it's going to explode, because people want authenticity and something that's going to help them. So that's kind of what launched it, and just doors just started opening, and I just started realizing that I love this. I'm not made for an office. I'm not made for a 9-to-5. I love being in locker rooms. I love being on the sidelines. I love, being one-on-one with these guys. And so that's kind of how it started all.
You bring up so many relevant points for our business listeners that, the power of belief, when used properly and guided, it can navigate you out of some very difficult times in life. And I think I really appreciate you sharing your work with the Oakland Raiders, because I think of all the franchises, the city of Oakland, there's a lot of these sports athletes that are, for better or for worse, role models
Yep.
to youth athletes coming along, particularly in my community, like in the Black community, like in Oakland. I could tell you, like, the old Charles Barkley saying that, that they're not role models. Well, maybe his point is they shouldn't be,
Right.
but they still are. And I think you helping those athletes being comfortable in their skin is a very important function. It's a very important thing. Now, if you wouldn't mind me asking, so you mentioned the Oakland Raiders, boxing, but is there other sports that you've helped professional or youth athletes in that do you think is noteworthy or that needed support?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think in my heart, when you're passionate about it, just being honest, whether it's a middle school athlete, a high school athlete, or a pro athlete, when God changes the way you see life, you see people for people, and you don't see people need to feel, that authentic. They're here, they're in the moment, they care about me. Moments. And so whether they're a pro athlete, whether they have so much money in the bank or they don't, man, I'm passionate about every single kid, every single person I'm about, because I really believe there's no accidents, that God truly brings me. So I say all that because I've had TCU over here, a big Christian university, where my dear friend and teammate is the chaplain over there. So he'll have me come and speak to teams. And so I'll do, women's soccer, basketball, baseball, football, volleyball, things like that. And then high school, you've got all kinds of different teams and different athletes. And I mean, everything from lacrosse to, different sports that you're not used to. But yeah, as far as pro, I got to serve the Dallas Renegades with the XFL 3 years ago, and with Coach Bob Stoops, and had an amazing time with that. And they're getting ready to launch that, get that ramped up and going. So I'm looking forward to being a part of that. I've done, spoken to Major League Soccer athletes and discipled a few of those guys, some UFC guys back in the day. So yeah, it's fun, and really, again, it's not even so much about the sport. It's really about somebody's heart, somebody's life, and really being there for them. So it's exciting. So I don't need to know a lot about lacrosse or golf or different things, but really just really being there for them and helping them.
That's great. Now, I would love to talk a little bit about some of the changes that are happening now in the sports industry. I mean, as you can see now, female athletics are starting to have their day. This past weekend, I enjoyed an afternoon of boxing with the boxing triple header that we talked about, right? Mm-hmm. We had Savannah Marshall versus the GWOAT, Clarissa Shields, right? And yeah. I would have to say, of all the fights that day, and I'm a huge Devin Haney, Kambosos. I mean, actually, I like both of their personalities, and Wilder's my guy. But I got to tell you, the fight of the night was Clarissa Shields and Marshall. Now, have you seen this as well, like this uptick of women in sports athletics, and now starting to get their due, and now they're going to start facing the winner's dilemma, right? Now they're going to start facing changes as a result of that. And I'm sure you watch WNBA too. So what's your feelings on that?
Yeah, it's exciting. I have two daughters, and so it's an exciting time to be alive in where women are starting to really step up and get opportunities, and companies pouring in and to help build the sports, and through television and endorsements and all these different things. So it's exciting to see. I think the U.S. Women's national team, they were soccer. They helped kind of bring a lot of that. They won the World Cup, and I mean, just they were huge, and our whole country got behind them, and so that it's amazing to see that. And I think coaching is getting better, obviously, technology, all these different things. So it's pretty cool to see, women get what they deserve, start getting a little bit more, the financial side of making money and all those endorsements and things. So it's exciting, especially as a dad of girls, for my girls to be able to say, hey, you could do anything. You can make just as much money as somebody else. So that's exciting.
So as I'm geeking out, talking to someone involved with the boxing industry, the greatest woman of all time is the GOAT. But earlier, Chris, you mentioned about the greatest of all time. Definitely Floyd Mayweather would be on that list. But for you, the term came from Muhammad Ali, right?
Yeah.
Like the greatest of all time. So if you had to pick, like what's your greatest of all time for you?
I think as a kid, Jerry Rice was somebody that I really, really looked up to. And back in the day, the 49ers had open practices. And I was just a little kid, and I remember my godfather took me to Redwood City. They were practicing in Redwood City at that time, in the mid '80s, and I remember watching Jerry Rice and just his work ethic. And he literally, one of the things that he would do was the receivers would be running their routes, and they usually, if it's a 5-yard in, they catch the ball and they'll run maybe 3, 4, 5 yards and then run back to the line. But Jerry Rice would run every single one all the way to the touchdown, every single time. And it was just, I remember just being little, like 7, 8 years old, watching him run and catch. And I mean, he was just so smooth. And, I remember he had a Porsche, and it was just like, he had license plate Flash 80, and it was just everything. He was smooth. He was nice. He was, worked hard. And so that was a guy I looked up to, and it was really cool because one of the things I'm big into is writing out goals. My mentor, who was the head chaplain for the Raiders, Dr. Adam Ibarra, he would always tell me, an unwritten goal is only a wish. And the Bible tells us to write things down, write these visions down and make it clear. And so I remember I wrote down a goal one year. I said I wanted to meet Michael Jordan and Jerry Rice. It was just a fun goal. Like I had all these other goals of health and business and things like that, debt and all that kind of stuff. But I had 2 fun goals, and those were my 2 goals. And that year, it was 2001. The 49ers lost Jerry Rice, and he ends up signing with the Oakland Raiders. And so I got to see him at practice, got to meet him, talk with him. And then later that year, the Raiders played the Minnesota Vikings, and Randy Moss was on the Vikings at that time, and he was signed with Jordan. Yeah. And Jordan ended up coming to that game, and I saw Michael Jordan and shook his hand, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. So now we got to geek out, Chris. Like I gotta do it. Okay. So I'm going to name an upcoming fight, and I want your fight prediction. We got to do it.
Nice.
Okay. We got to do it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So Crawford Spence.
Man.
I don't want to get you in trouble, because I know you're in these circles, but I'm just curious.
Yeah.
This is your opinion.
Yeah. So, my heart is Spence because he's here in Dallas, Fort Worth. I love
hometown hero there for sure.
Yeah, he's hometown hero. He's actually a miracle, man. That guy should have been dead in that car accident. I'm very proud of him. He's changed a lot of his lifestyle. From what I hear, I don't know him personally, been around him. He's got an amazing trainer, and I've just seen a life changing. I'm really happy for him. So I have this heart pull for Errol, and he's a dynamic guy, athlete, boxer. But my head says Crawford, my heart says Spence, but my head says Crawford, man. He's just amazing, fast, strong. And I've had.
Okay, next one.
Yeah, next one.
Next one. I think you nailed it. I have different views.
Yeah.
I'm a Bud fan, but I can respect that pick. Yeah. But okay, so I don't know if the fight will get made, but what about Fury Joshua?
Yeah, I think Fury right now, I think he's just the top heavyweight. He's just unbelievable. His boxing skills. Deontay has power that can end a fight in any moment if he lands his right hand, which we saw last Saturday
Presence
night.
too, right? Presence
Right.
too. Like he's a good personality as well.
Yeah. Oh, he's great for boxing, man. He's great. He's great with fans. I've seen him around the hotels. I mean, he's great with people. He's just fun. He's just fun. Like you go to his workouts and stuff, and I mean, he's having fun with people in there. It's a cool atmosphere. I love Wilder, but I just think Tyson Fury, man, he's just an amazing boxer, very confident, and nobody's outclassed him yet. So Joshua's lost, and so I think Tyson got the hand on that.
I think that crunk gym was probably the missing ingredient for him as well. So last one. We got to do it. Okay. So hypothetically, if there's an eliminator and Wilder faces Andy Ruiz, which way are you going there?
Man, I think Tyson is too smart of a fighter, too talented of a fighter, but Andy is just, man, this guy is a Rocky. This guy is just no give in.
It's the comeback story, right?
Yeah, he's just no fear. I mean, this guy's got a chin. He's taking punches, so I never count that guy out. He beat one of my guys I was rooting for, Luis Ortiz, the last fight. And so you just cannot count Andy Ruiz out on anything. But, if I had to say somebody's going to win, it'd be Tyson. But, man, I wouldn't be surprised if Andy, comes through, man.
Okay, this was fun. Now, one thing that I'd like to ask you about now, I think many of the uninitiated may not appreciate that to become a chaplain, there's a process, and there are pathways and degrees and ministry schools to do it, and you did that. So would you mind sharing a little bit about your journey to, like, once you made that decision to be a chaplain, like what's the actual process you followed?
Yeah, so I went to a Christian Bible college, and I got my degree, but so part of it, some people want to say it's a twist of fate, right? It's a little bit of fate. I feel like God had his hand on my life, and he opened that door for me at a very young age. Definitely not deserving, definitely not the best speaker, communicator. And God graced, he knew my heart. He knew he could trust me. He knew that he could trust me in this position. And so it was about relationship for me. So, meeting this player and becoming friends and having just this genuine heart to get to know him and be his friend and grow and challenge him and help him, because I didn't even know the position existed. But from there, there's some amazing ministries like Fellowship of Christian Athletes, who I work for right now. There's Athletes in Action, which is another amazing ministry that they're doing, colleges and pros. So getting connected to those ministries and serving and being a part of that, they're very connected to these teams, and because everything's relationship. So whether it's the owners, whether it's the head coaches, oftentimes it's just like coaching. So, in the NFL or college, when a coach gets hired, they're going to fire most of the coaches that are there and bring in their guys.
Right.
And so that happens.
New
a
administration.
lot. Yeah. So that happens a lot. So I would say, you definitely want to be educated. You want to know your stuff. And then you want to be on a team that is connected, and a team that has a good relationship, like Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Athletes in Action, something like that. So, yeah.
So, Chris, I wish we could sit around and do fight predictions all evening, but you are definitely, my friend, invited to my next fight night in my backyard, and I hope I'm going to be invited to your fight nights, because you're actually ringside a lot of times. But in all seriousness, I think there's a lot of lessons learned that you can provide for entrepreneurs, people that are in sports, parents, coaches. First of all, how can they find your book? And if they want to get in touch with you, or there's a lot of nonprofit donation work that you do, how can they participate and give a charitable donation and help you on the cause.
Man, thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that. My book's on Amazon right now. You can get it on Amazon. It's on sale right now. So just go on Amazon, type in 2-Minute Warning, Chris Avila, or you can go to my website, officialchrisavila.com.
Thanks for sharing that, Chris. And, my opinion, my friend, you're an inspiration. I think your life story has shown how you've battled through adversity and now you're giving back and helping others on their journey. It's really inspirational. Thank you for coming. If you like this content, please share, like, and subscribe to Twist of Fate. We're trying to make this content free to all those aspiring entrepreneurs, sports athletes, coaches, trainers, and many others to make their lives better by making their dreams come true. With that, I look forward to seeing you on the next Twist of Fate.
Twist of Fate is hosted by Doug Younger. It's produced by John Lundvid and Matthew Brown at Ezo Creative. Moni Yu designs our graphics and Enrique Pimentel manages our digital life. Our theme music is by Jamie Bathgate. Special thanks to all of our patrons. You can support the show by visiting patreon.com/twistoffate podcast. Thanks for listening.